All right, guys. So tonight we're going to talk about exam stress. I know a lot of you guys are heading into December finals. I've been getting questions about how to deal with exam stress. I'm not going to blow smoke up your ass and tell you some kind of airy fairy idea about being at one with your spirit animal to get the stress to go away. Stress is, it's a fact of reality. You have to deal with it, and not just deal with it, you have to perform and excel under stress. And so the real deal, and that's what I'm all about, is telling you guys the truth. I have nothing to gain from this other than putting something positive and good out in the world, and hopefully helping one, two, three, four, and maybe many people who are listening to this and wanting to follow my advice. But the reality is the best way to deal with stress for your exams specifically is to be prepared for them. The answer is not to take drugs. It's not to pull an all-nighter using caffeine pills the night before. It's not to cry, although I'll be honest, like if you are stressed out and you need a second to let it all out, do it. There's no shame in that, right? I mean, if you're really feeling like you're going to crack, it's okay to let it out. But the reality of it is that you should just be prepared for your exams, and that is the best way to deal with the stress. That's the best way to minimize the stress. The stress isn't going to be completely gone by any means, at least not all the time. There will be times where if you prepare properly, your stress will go away. For example, for me, I would get stressed out maybe 2 days before the exam because I'd realize, okay, it's almost game time. You know, I got to make sure I'm on point. The morning of the exam, I would be stressed out for maybe 5 minutes, and then I would go through the checklist in my head. No, you've prepared, Vajid. You've done all the things you need to do. You know this material. All you got to do now is go and perform and execute your plan, execute, those questions and crush the exam. And you have to have that kind of mentality. So we talked about planning. If you fail to plan, you plan to fail. So we already talked about that. So now it's about how do you put together that plan in an intelligent way, in a structured way, such that you succeed. So what I would say is if it's not too late already, I mean, if you're nearing the end of your classes and you're still learning stuff, start to review stuff from before your midterm, stuff from like September, from October, because that stuff is going to be, it's going to have faded from your mind. And it's important to bring yourself back to being comfortable with that material. You also want to address concepts that are big concepts in the course that are likely to be tested and that you have the most difficulty with. Don't avoid your problems. Face them head on, especially the ones that you have the most trouble with. You do not want to be there on the night before the exam dealing with key concepts that are integral to the entire course and you're struggling and freaking out because you haven't internalized them yet. So attack those first. The stuff you already know, the stuff that comes fairly easily to, you can leave it till later to review and refresh your memory on. So yeah, make sure you do all that kind of stuff first. And then, study smart in the sense that you want to be efficient with your time. Like I quoted in the video, Iron Man says, no amount of money can even buy a second of time, right? That's roughly what he said. So you have to use every second of time that you have well. So, rather than reading the entire textbook, when you're studying for an exam, what you probably should do or should have done is while you are going through the courses, making notes, making summary notes. You make tables, make flowcharts, make diagrams, whatever helps you learn. And everyone is different, okay? So I used to like making diagrams. I used to like making lists and things like that. That would help me memorize. I would break things down, organize things in a way that I felt comfortable learning from and felt I could learn quickly from. Because what I would do is I would get everything kind of learned and I'd make all my summary notes so that all I would have to do is when it comes time to exams is basically go over all my summary notes over and over again, go through my notes quickly rather than having to read entire chapters from textbooks because that's very time consuming and you don't have time for that close to your exam. So create a plan roughly like that. If you guys have any questions about how to do this, I'll try to think of ways to elaborate on this, but roughly that's what you want to do. And that way, when it comes time to your exam, you'll be just going through stuff that you feel you kind of need to refresh a little bit more, lists of things that you haven't quite memorized. You'll just be doing that the last couple of days rather than struggling with core concepts, and you'll feel prepared. You'll just be putting the finishing touches on your knowledge, on your abilities, and that way you'll be ready to conquer any questions they throw at you that you haven't seen before. You'll know the material so well that you'll be able to adapt to whatever comes up on the exam, and that's how you'll succeed, and that is how you will minimize your stress leading up to the exam. All right, guys, good luck, and I'll give you guys another topic in a day or two. And also, sort of these strategies that I'm mentioning about, dealing with exam stress apply to other sources of stress in your life too. You just have to generalize it to other things. So, if there's things about you, problems that you have, you don't want to leave them to the end because they're going to start to pile up, and there's going to, you're going to have a crisis in your life at some point when all your problems kind of get exacerbated all at the same time. So if you've got something you got to work on, whether it's your fitness, your education, your career, your relationships with family, friends, deal with them right away as soon as you can. Pick up the phone, call that person that you're having difficulty dealing with. Don't procrastinate. These are all things that you want to do. You want to kind of prioritize the most important things, the most critical things. Even when I was deciding what video topics to do, I would love to give you guys more sort of general life advice, but I realized the best way that I can create benefit for others is to address the more acute issue right now, which is of you guys going into your exams right now. General life advice can wait 2 or 3 weeks or whenever I get through these topics that relate to exams. So just remember you can take these strategies and apply it to pretty much anything, and it should help you. All right. Hope that's helpful. If you guys have any feedback for me, just DM me and I will try to take that into account next time. All right. Good luck, guys.